My stepsister tortured me for 30 years while everyone believed her lies, but when she tried to destroy my marriage with a false accusation, I exposed every single manipulation and the whole family was shattered seeing who she really was. I'm 40 years old. I'm a lawyer. I'm married to Elizabeth and we have 2 daughters, and after more than 3 decades of living in a hell that no one else could see, I can finally tell this story because the person who made my life impossible since I was 8 years old was completely exposed a few months ago. And when I say exposed, I mean the entire family, absolutely everyone, saw who Victoria really was after years of believing every single one of her lies. But let me start from the beginning, because this story is long and complicated, and I need you to understand how someone can destroy your life for 30 years while everyone thinks she's an angel and you're the problem. My father died when I was 6 years old. Lung cancer. It was quick. And honestly, I don't remember much about him, except that he was tall and would carry me on his shoulders. My mother, Catherine, was devastated, obviously. And we spent like a year and a half alone, just the 2 of us. And truthfully, it was a difficult, but quiet time, you know? We were poor. My mom worked 2 jobs, but things were okay between us. Then when I was 7 or 8 years old, I don't remember exactly, she met Thomas at her work, and well, they got married pretty quickly. Thomas came with 2 sons from his previous marriage, Marcus and Tyler, who were older than me, and with Victoria, who was exactly my same age. At first, everything seemed normal, like typical blended family stuff, you know, a little awkward but manageable. But Victoria, from day one, from literally the first day we all moved in together, hated me. And I'm not exaggerating or being dramatic. That girl hated me with an intensity I didn't understand then and still don't fully understand now. What I did understand very quickly was that she was incredibly smart at manipulating adults. She had this ability to cry at the exact right moment, to put on an innocent angel face when someone looked at her, to make up stories that sounded totally believable. And I was her main target. She would break something and say, I had done it, or hit me when no one was looking and then cry saying I had attacked her first, or make up that I had said horrible things to her that I never said. And Thomas always believed her. Always. My mother, and it hurts me to admit this even now, basically chose to keep the peace with her new husband instead of defending me. Every time I tried to explain what had really happened, she would tell me to stop causing problems, that Victoria was new to the family and needed time to adjust, that I had to be more mature and understanding. But Victoria didn't need time to adjust. Victoria was perfectly adjusted to her new role as the perpetual victim and me as the villain of the family story. And that was just the beginning. Because what came next were years and years of completely different treatment that made me feel like a second-class citizen in my own home. Marcus and Tyler received everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. They had generous allowances, like $50 a week each, which at that time was a lot of money for teenagers. They bought them cell phones when they turned 14, gave them freedom to go out with friends, to go to parties, to basically do whatever they wanted. Victoria also received the same, maybe even more because she was Thomas's only girl, and he adored her in a way that was honestly a little weird. But me, I received nothing. Literally nothing. I didn't have an allowance. They didn't buy me a cell phone until I got myself a job at 16 and bought it myself. I could hardly ever go out because there was always some reason why I had to stay home. And if I asked why the rules were different for me, the answer was always that I had to earn those things, that siblings were different, that I shouldn't be so dramatic. Victoria made sure I knew exactly what I was missing. She would show me her new phone, tell me about the parties she went to, complain out loud, about how she didn't know what to spend her allowance on that week while I was there. Without a cent. Feeling like a complete idiot. And the worst part was that she always did it when no one else could hear, or said it in a way that sounded innocent if someone was present, as if she was just sharing her life with me, not rubbing in my face everything I didn't have. When it was time to go to college, I knew I had to get scholarships because there wasn't going to be any help from my family. I studied like crazy throughout high school, worked 3 different jobs to save money, and managed to get a full scholarship to study law. I was proud of myself, you know? I felt like I had finally achieved something on my own, but college was a financial nightmare anyway, because the scholarship covered tuition and books, but not housing or food or anything else. So I worked practically full-time while studying full-time, slept like 4 hours a night, and basically survived those years on coffee. instant ramen, and pure stubbornness. Meanwhile, Victoria went to an expensive private university that Thomas paid for completely. She lived on campus, didn't work, had a car they gave her, and basically lived the movie college life you see on TV shows. And I wasn't exactly jealous. I mean, yes, I was a little jealous, obviously, but more than anything, I was tired. I was so tired of being treated like I didn't matter, like I wasn't really part of the family, like my existence was an inconvenience everyone tolerated but nobody really wanted. Things came to a breaking point when I was like 22 years old. I had gotten my first real job as a legal assistant. It didn't pay much, but it was something, and I was trying to finish my last semesters of college. One day I came home, he still lived with them because I couldn't afford an apartment, and found all my things. And when I say all, I mean all my belongings. In boxes at the entrance. Thomas was there, with that face he made when he was angry, and told me I had to leave, that I was old enough to live on my own, that they needed the space. He didn't give me even a week's notice. Nothing. Just, get out of here today. My mother was standing there saying nothing, looking at the floor. And Victoria was in her room, but I knew she was listening to everything, and probably smiling. I ended up living in my car for 2 weeks until a friend from college let me sleep on her couch. It was humiliating and terrible, but it was also liberating in a way because I was finally out of that toxic house. I got a tiny studio apartment that was basically a box with a bathroom, but it was mine, and I started building my life without them. I thought that maybe, just maybe, the distance would help and we could have some kind of normal relationship eventually. But Victoria wasn't going to let that happen. Oh no, she had much bigger plans to ruin my life. A few months after I left, she started telling the entire extended family that I had abandoned my family when they needed me most, that they were going through financial difficulties, which was a lie, and that I had left without caring about anything. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone started treating me differently, like I was an ungrateful and selfish daughter. When I tried to explain what had really happened, no one believed me. Victoria had already told her version first, and her version was always more dramatic, more convincing, more designed to make her look like the victim and me like the bad guy. Then things got worse. She started showing up at my workplace, supposedly by coincidence, and telling my colleagues stories about me. That I had been a troubled child, that I had problems with authority, that I had stolen money from my parents, completely made up things, but said with so much conviction that people started to doubt me. My boss at the time called me into her office one day and asked me directly if there were things from my past that she needed to know about, because someone, obviously it was Victoria, but she didn't say the name, had expressed concerns about my character. I had to sit there and basically defend my reputation against accusations that didn't have an ounce of truth. Years passed, and I moved forward with my life as best I could. I finished college, started working as a junior lawyer at a small firm. Met Elizabeth when I was 28, and she simply was, and still is, the only person besides me who could see through Victoria from the beginning. We got married, had our 2 daughters, and I built a life that was good, that was mine, that was real. I kept minimal contact with my family, basically only went to obligatory events like birthdays and Christmas, and it was always uncomfortable but manageable because I had already learned to maintain emotional distance. But then Victoria did something that crossed a line I didn't even know existed. Like 3 years ago, she started telling family members, privately, one by one, that I had sexually abused Marcus and Tyler when we were kids, that I had molested them, that she had witnessed it, that it had been traumatic and that's why the 2 of them had problems. Neither of them has problems, both are fine, but she made that up too. She also said I had tried to abuse her but that Thomas had stopped me, and that's why he was so hard on me when we were girls, because he was protecting her. When I found out about this, and I found out because a cousin who was always kind of close to me called me crying to ask if it was true, I thought I was going to go crazy. I couldn't breathe. Literally couldn't breathe properly. The accusation was so vile, so completely made up, so specifically designed to destroy me in the most absolute way possible, that I didn't know what to do. I went straight to my mother and Thomas's house, walked in without knocking, and demanded that everyone sit down because we were going to have a conversation we should have had decades ago. I told them everything. Absolutely everything. The years of emotional abuse by Victoria, the differential treatment, the constant manipulation, the lies, everything. and I told them that if they believed for a second that I had done what Victoria was saying, to call the police right now, that I would submit to any investigation, that I would talk to Marcus and Tyler directly, whatever was necessary to clear my name. My mother started crying. Thomas turned red with rage, and I thought that finally they were going to see the truth. But no. Thomas said I was jealous of Victoria, that I always had been, that I was making all this up to cause problems. My mother said she needed time to process everything, that she couldn't believe that her children, referring to Victoria as her daughter too, which hurt me in a way I can't describe, would be lying about something so serious. And I left that house knowing that no matter what I said, no matter how much evidence I had, Victoria was always going to win in their eyes. A week later, I ended up in the hospital with pancreatitis, caused by extreme stress. My body literally started failing from everything I was carrying. I was hospitalized for 5 days, and the only person from my family who came to see me was Marcus, who showed up at the hospital, sat in the chair next to my bed, and told me quietly that he knew Victoria was lying, that he had never said any of the things she was saying, and that he believed me about everything else too. Tyler came the next day and said basically the same thing. Turns out Victoria had told them that I was making up that she had made those accusations, that it was all a misunderstanding, and they didn't know what to believe until the cousin who had called me asked them directly, and that's when they realized what Victoria was doing. When I got out of the hospital, Elizabeth and I sat down with Marcus and Tyler for hours, and between all of us, we designed a plan. We weren't going to confront Victoria directly, because that never worked. She always found a way to turn the situation around. Instead, we were going to do something much more effective. We were going to give her the complete silent treatment. All of us, the 4 of us, were simply going to act like Victoria didn't exist, not respond to her messages, not talk to her at family events, nothing. Just ignore her completely, as if she were invisible. And we did it. For 2 full years, the 4 of us maintained that agreement, and Victoria started to fall apart. At first, she tried to do the usual thing. Victimize herself, say we were excluding her unfairly, tell Thomas and Catherine stories about how we were mistreating her. But without us reacting, without drama she could use as fuel, she started to look increasingly desperate and, honestly, a little unhinged. She would do weird things like show up at our houses unannounced, send long and increasingly incoherent messages, call crying at 3 inches the morning. We all just ignored everything. Like 6 months ago, Marcus got married. A big wedding, like 200 guests. The whole family was there. Elizabeth and I went with our daughters, and we were having a good time, dancing, eating, celebrating. Victoria was there too, obviously, and for most of the night we successfully ignored each other. But then, toward the end of the night, I saw Victoria approaching Elizabeth while I was in the bathroom. When I came back, Elizabeth had this expression on her face that I knew very well, that expression of, I can't believe what I just heard. Victoria had told Elizabeth, my wife, that I had been sexually harassing her for years, that she had proof, that Elizabeth needed to protect herself and protect our daughters. Elizabeth, being Elizabeth, had told her exactly what to do with those accusations and walked away, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I had endured everything else, but trying to destroy my marriage, trying to make my wife doubt me, trying to involve my daughters in her lies, that was too much. That night, when we got home, I opened the family group chat, where everyone was, uncles, cousins, everyone, and I sent screenshots of the last 2 years of Victoria's messages where she contradicted herself about her own stories, where she admitted things she later denied, where she was clearly making things up to manipulate situations. I didn't say much, just put, "This is Victoria for the past 2 years," and let the evidence speak for itself. The response was immediate. Victoria started writing like crazy, trying to give explanations, saying those messages were taken out of context, that I had edited them. I didn't. They were literally direct screenshots. That this was more proof that I was harassing her. But then something incredible started to happen. One by one, other family members started sharing their own stories about Victoria. A cousin told how Victoria had made up that her husband was having an affair, causing problems in their marriage for months. An uncle shared how Victoria had stolen money from his wife's purse at a family gathering and then blamed one of the kids. Story after story, all coming to light, Everyone finally feeling safe to speak because someone else had started. The group chat exploded. Hundreds of messages in a matter of hours. And Victoria couldn't control the narrative because there were too many people talking at the same time, too many stories that coincided in the pattern of behavior, too much accumulated evidence. She tried to do the usual thing, victimize herself, say everyone hated her, that nobody understood her, but nobody was buying anything anymore. Thomas left the chat. He didn't say anything. Just left. Catherine stayed and read everything in silence. The next day, my mother called me. She cried for 40 minutes before she could speak coherently. She told me she was sorry, that she had been blind for decades, that she had failed as a mother by not protecting me, that I had let Thomas dictate how I was treated, because she was afraid he would leave her if she defended me. She told me that now she saw everything clearly, all the times Victoria had lied, all the times I had told the truth and no one had believed me. Everything. She asked for forgiveness in a way that sounded genuine, broken, desperate. I'm not going to lie. Part of me wanted to yell at her. Tell her it was too late, that 30 years had passed and that forgiveness didn't fix all the damage. But another part of me, the tired part that just wanted peace, just said, it's okay. I understand. I need time. And she said she understood, that she would take all the time I needed, that she would be there when and if I was ready to have some kind of relationship. It's been several months since all that. Victoria hasn't contacted anyone in the family as far as I know. She moved to another city, I think, or at least that's what I heard. Thomas finally talked to me like a month ago. A brief and awkward, a conversation where he basically admitted he had misinterpreted many situations over the years. It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was something. Marcus and Tyler have become close to Elizabeth and me. My daughters have a nice relationship with them, which makes me happy in a way I didn't expect. My relationship with Catherine is slowly improving. We talk on the phone every week or so, short but honest conversations. I don't know if we'll ever have the mother-daughter relationship we could have had. That was lost a long time ago. But we're building something new. Something based on truth this time. The strangest thing about all of this is the feeling of freedom. For 30 years, I carried the weight of being the bad guy in the family story. Of knowing that I was the villain in everyone's narrative. Of living with this constant injustice that no one else saw. And now that's gone. The truth came out. People saw who Victoria really was, and I no longer have to carry that shit. It sounds simple when I say it like that, but it's profound in a way I can't fully explain. Last week, my oldest daughter, who's 9 years old, asked me why we don't see Grandma Catherine much. I told her that adults sometimes have complicated relationships, that Grandma and I are working on our relationship, that it takes time to fix things that have been broken for a long time. She looked at me with those big eyes she has and said, "But you always forgive me when I make mistakes, Mommy." And I had to leave the room because I started crying. Kids see things so simply, so clearly, and she was right. I forgive my daughters when they make mistakes because I love them unconditionally. Catherine didn't forgive me for 30 years, didn't defend me, didn't love me that way. But maybe, just maybe, it's not too late for her to learn to do it now. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what's going to happen with that relationship or with any of the family relationships. But for the first time in my life, I don't feel trapped in a story that someone else wrote about me. I can finally write my own story. And that's enough for now.